Hey folks, just jumped on the D train on my way to Brooklyn to see if I get some subscribers for my YouTube channel. Turns out I only have 39. It's kind of sad. You could say the supply of subscribers on my YouTube channel is very low, which is a great segue to our next video on supply. Alright, so why don't you guys take a look at that, and I'll head over to Brooklyn, see if I can get myself some subscribers. See you later. Welcome back, boys and girls, to another edition of Economics Flipped. Today we will continue with our supply and demand story, and today we're going to add supply. Okay, just like in demand, supply has a law also. Same kind of concept, except you're now thinking as a producer. So the law of supply says, other things equal, ceteris paribus, as the price rises, the quantity supplied rises. And as the price falls, the quantity supplied falls. So we have a direct relationship, which is the opposite of what we saw with demand, which was a negative or an inverse relationship. All right. So why is this happening? Well, the reason is price is acting as an incentive to the producer. As price is going up, the producer is willing to bring more to market. Okay. Now we want to again see that it says quantity supplied, which I'd like you to think of as the amount. And it also says the quantity supplied when the price falls, it's also the amount. And because costs are rising, eventually these things are going to happen. All right, so let's look at supply. And if price doesn't affect supply, so what does affect supply? All right, and the acronym here is a shout out to Jen Guo. This is #WetCat. It was the best we could do, I apologize. Okay, so the hashtag, again, stands for the number of sellers, right? Whereas in demand, it was the number of buyers, but now we are producers, so it's number of sellers. So if there are more people selling pizza, right, then the supply of pizza in the country will increase. If people decide they don't want to sell pizza, then the supply of the product will decrease. So the number of sellers is very important. Okay, and then we go to W, which is weather or natural disaster. So if we have really bad weather or natural disaster, the supply of the good will decrease. Happened during Superstorm Sandy, right? We had some really bad weather and a lot of our stuff had decreased because we weren't able to produce it. Some of the capital we had was lost. Sometimes we have really bad raining seasons, and pumpkins, the supply of pumpkins goes down. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, if there's really good weather, we can sometimes get an abundance of the good. All right, so weather / natural disaster. E stands for the expectation of the future prices. Again, very similar to what we talked about in demand, but they're behaving the exact opposite. If we expect, as a producer, the price of the good to be higher in the future, so I have all these barrels of oil and I think oil will be higher in the future, I am going to decrease the amount today because I expect the price to be higher in the future. However, if I expect the price to be lower in the future, I'm going to supply as much as I can today to get rid of my supply and make as much money as possible. Okay, T stands for technology. Right? If there's new technology, the supply of the good will increase. We become more efficient. But if we don't have technology, or in like one of the questions we talked about, the government bans the use of technology, the supply of the good will decrease. So all the farmers have to get off their tractors and they got to grab a hoe and just do the field by hand. Doesn't sound like much fun. Okay, now probably the most important one is the cost of inputs. Inputs are your natural resources, your labor, your capital. All right, these are the things that go into making a good. So as the cost of the inputs rise, the supply of the good will decrease. So it becomes more expensive to make the good. I'm not going to make as much. However, if workers are willing to take a pay cut, then I will hire more workers and the supply of the good will increase. Okay, A is for alternative good, which is the supply, the supply version of a substitute. So if the price of an alternative good increases, the supply of the good will decrease. I am the producer of brownies, and then I see that pizza is making more money than you make in brownies. I will then decrease the supply of brownies and increase the supply of pizza, right? So if the price of pizza is going higher, then the supply of brownies will go down. Okay, and if the price of an alternative good decreases, the supply of the other good will increase. So if the price of pizza is going down, the pizza suppliers are getting out and they're going to start making brownies. Right, and the last one is tax or subsidy. Okay, so if the government puts a tax on a good, you see the tax as if it's an additional cost. So whatever a cost would do, the same thing tax will do. Right? A subsidy is when the government gives the producer money to offset the losses to encourage him to produce. Sometimes we subsidize farmers not to grow, so there'll be less supply and the other farmers can make more money. Okay? And then sometimes the government will take taxes off, right? Our government a couple of years ago did a tax cut for businesses, hoping they would produce more goods and services. So that's the supply. What I want you really to focus on with this one, I should be saying this at the end of the video since none of you listened to it, but here I'm going to go for it anyway. Anytime I say the word supply, you must think cost. So when you have a test and you look at the question, you say, does this affect the cost of producing? If it affects the cost of producing, it is a supply question and you're looking at #wetcat. If the answer is no, it doesn't affect the cost of producing, then it's a demand question. You're looking at #spice. So for all of you who listened at the end of this video, you got yourself a little tip there, which I'm sure I'll end up repeating in class. All right, boys and girls, take care.